welcome to Up Close with Carlos Sang, celebrating art, entertainment, and the human spirit. Welcome to another episode of Up Close with Carlos Sang. My next guest is one of the most talented singer-actresses in the industry today. I am super excited to be able to talk to her again after 5 years. It's a huge delight to be able to introduce the one and only Lily Hayworth. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Last time we spoke, we finished off on your advice to young actors, and I thought we could start from where we left off. There's a lot of young actors, finishing drama school today, and they're entering, a really particularly competitive market, especially after COVID. Would you say it's, a good time to be entering the industry today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's so many exciting new musicals especially happening, and lots of shows like Heathers and Six and things like that are looking for young, vibrant people that are leaving drama school. So I think it's a perfect time for lots of young grads. But yeah, I mean, it's as competitive as it's ever been. I mean, I could do with a little bit of help now being out of the industry for a little while. So yeah, it's a tough industry to break through for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, you finished your time in Central back in 2010. How would you say the industry has changed since then too?
I think things like social media have become a very sort of powerful tool for young performers. And I think a lot of musical theatre stars especially have quite big sort of social media followings and use social media as a tool to showcase what they're doing and their talents and all of that sort of thing. And that just wasn't a thing when I left drama school. That's showing my age now, but yeah, it just wasn't a thing. And I'm not great at social media now, and I am constantly thinking, I should be up on like sharing stuff on TikTok, and I've got no idea about any of that. But yeah, I'd say that's probably the main difference I can think about the industry. And sometimes when you're filling in casting head sheets and things like that, usually for commercials or things like that, you have to write your Instagram handle and things like that I guess they want to see how many followers you've got, which is mad.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious as well, the fact you went to Central and sort of like pursue, this, straight acting route rather than just focusing on musical theatre. Was there a reason why you pursued that path rather than, just focus on musicals?
It was always the straight acting stuff that I was more interested in, really. I still, prefer acting, I think, over singing. I find singing quite stress inducing, even though I love doing it and I love doing shows. But acting's my main passion, I'd say. So I wanted to have a degree that did both of those things. And obviously in my career I've done more musicals than anything else though.
Yeah, so like, would you say you're more of an actor who sings rather than a singer who acts?
I'd say so, yeah. I hope that's how people see me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we first met, you were still doing Cilla the Musical at the time. It was a very singing heavy show. I'm still like sort of hoping that it will come back in some shape or form as well. Was it, challenging, going song after song, 8 shows a week?
It was really challenging, and I haven't done anything that challenging since, and I hadn't done anything that challenging before. It was a hell of a lot. I think I had 18 or 19 songs sort of almost back to back and in every scene of the show as well, and it was amazing and an amazing part, but it was vocally really, really challenging for sure. Just the amount of songs, and obviously not having an alternate or anything, you're expected to do all of the shows, and I definitely felt the pressure for that, and yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great show as well, and I loved your performance. Was it what you were expecting, when you first auditioned for it too? The fact that it was going to be song after song after song.
I don't think I knew quite how many songs there were going to be in it when I was auditioning and stuff like that, and it did take me by surprise quite how many songs there were. But I mean, it was amazing, and I loved being in that show, and playing that part was just an absolute dream come true.
Yeah, I mean, you stuck with Cilla for a long time as well. You toured it for pretty much a year, really. Yeah, did
Yeah.
you feel like you were done with the part when you left the show, or was there still a part of you that felt attached to Cilla at all too?
I mean, I was tired, so I was glad to have a break. But I always wanted to be able to maybe take it into the West End or something like that. But I mean, I think I'm probably far too old now, but I hope it has another life because it was a great show. You know, whoever takes on the role, I think it would it would be amazing because it was a great show, and I think it would get a good response.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, what memories do you have, like, particularly that stand out for you as well when you look back at that time?
We had an amazing cast, and it was like a family really. And I know that's a cheesy line to say, but it really was. Everyone was so lovely, and so it was a really nice atmosphere the whole time on tour. And all the sort of creatives and everything. So that's my main memory, and just having a ball with a load of friends on tour. Really, it was great.
Yeah, are you still in touch with anyone from that show too?
Yeah, quite a lot. I saw Gemma Broderick only the other week. She's in Blood Brothers at the moment. So I went to see her in that. She's playing Linda in Blood Brothers. So yeah, so that was amazing. And I chat to a lot of them quite frequently. I'm actually going to see Buddy, the Buddy Holly show today.
Oh.
I'm going to see Chris Weeks is playing Buddy, who was in Cilla as well. So yeah, I'm still in touch with a few of them.
Amazing. I mean, after we spoke as well last time, you got to play, one of the great roles in the musical theatre canon, Sally Bowles in Cabaret.
Yeah.
Another gorgeous production. How was it getting to explore, that, such a complex character as well in this, such a beautiful
Sally
show?
Bowles is just the best part ever. I love her, and I loved playing her, and I was so lucky to get the chance to do that. And yeah, it's amazing, and try and put my own spin on it and stuff like that. And yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful, and I had the time of my life on that job. And sadly, it got cut short because of COVID. But luckily, we've got most of the tour done. We only had about 8 weeks, I think it was, left. So we were quite lucky, really. But yeah, it was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she is such an iconic character. Did you still have to audition for that part, after, working with Bill Kenwright on Cilla for, over a year?
It was a bit of a weird one with that, because I basically plucked up the courage to just ask Bill because I knew that they were doing the show, and I was like, look, I want to play Sally Bowles. And he basically said no. He said, no, we need someone with more of a celebrity name to play the part. So I was like, okay, fine, I get it. I'm not a celebrity. And then a little while later, he messaged me and just said, look, we can't find someone that we want for the part. Will you come in and read a bit of Sally and do an audition? So I was like, yeah, absolutely, I will. And then I went in and worked on some of the scenes with him, and then he offered me the part. It was just like a dream. It was amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously there's been a new production of Cabaret as well that opened in the West End recently, afterwards. Have you gotten the chance to see that production as well too?
Still haven't. This is life having a baby because I've got a 2-year-old now, so I don't get to see as much stuff as I'd like to. But I've heard so many amazing things about that production, so I hope I do get a chance to see it at some point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how has it been, becoming a mum as well since everything that's happened?
It's amazing. Being a mum is amazing. It's really hard, and it turns everything completely upside down. But I'm very lucky, and he's an amazing little boy. And we've just been this morning and taken him to his first little football class, which he absolutely loved. So it's super cute, super cute.
Oh, amazing. There's been obviously a lot of great shows happening on tour and in the West End as well recently. Yeah, what sort of stuff have you been seeing recently too?
So mainly it's just been seeing friends in things. What have I seen recently? I saw Mrs. Doubtfire in the West End, which was brilliant. I saw Moulin Rouge, which I had another friend in, which was great as well. Saw Blood Brothers, and then seeing Buddy. I saw Next to Normal a couple of weeks ago at the Donmar, which was amazing, which is just, such a moving production. So trying to get out there and slowly starting to audition for things again as well, so hopefully can get back on stage. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. I also know that you've also started your photography accounts as well as Lily Barnes.
Mhm.
How did that sort of like come about too?
I actually started doing photography way back before I did Cilla. I just did a little course and started learning how to do photography, and then obviously dipping in and out between shows. But yeah, I've done it for quite a few years, so I sort of do it alongside other things and trying to keep that going as a little side hustle.
I know you also recently wrapped on Assassin's Guild as well. Working with Stuart Brennan.
Oh
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
How did
oh,
that? Sorry.
you've done your research.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, how did that project come about as well?
I just got a self tape for it through my agent. So submitted the self tape for it, and then yeah, I'd had a couple of days filming on that, and that was really great. That was sort of one of the first things back since being a bum. So yeah, it was great to be back on set doing some acting stuff and taking off my mum crown for a minute and doing something a bit different.
Yeah, what can you tell us about that project too?
So it's a sort of fantasy epic feature film. I'm only in a very small section of it, but the crew were all amazing, and it was a really fun set to work on. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. But yeah, it's all sort of fantasy and goblins and witches and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, was it a similar experience to what you did on The Huntsman as well with Winter's War?
Yeah, well, Huntsman was an interesting one because I was a stand-in for Jessica Chastain, so I was on set for the whole film as her stand-in, and then luckily got to be in a very small part of it. But that was what my job was on that. So it was a really great learning curve being on set for several months, watching those type of massive film stars working. It was really cool,
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah. I mean, working on film is must be very different to like working on stage as well. How would you like compare the two experiences too?
Um, I mean, there's slightly less adrenaline when you're on set, and you obviously have to do things over and over again. So trying to keep that natural sort of magic in the way that you say the lines and everything like that on set is a completely different skill, because obviously when you're on stage it's all just one take and you only get that one shot to make it good, and if you mess up, well, that's it.
Yeah.
um so there's definitely a lot more adrenaline on stage.
Yeah, definitely. I know you've also been doing a lot of like concerts as well recently at the Crazy Coqs in
Mm-hmm.
particular. Yeah, how has it
Yeah.
been doing these sorts of like tribute nights to like these different bands and like stars as
Oh,
well?
it's great. And Mark Petty, who organises the Crazy Coqs Presents, he has me back time and time again, which is lovely. And it just flexes those muscles a little bit, gets my brain working, learn a few new songs, and gets me back on stage performing in front of an audience. So that's good, because it's easy, especially when you become a mum, to just sort of disappear and lose a bit of your identity. And I feel like having that reminds me of who I am and what I do, and that I'm not only a mum. I'm a performer as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Tell us more about these sorts of like concerts. These like are they? Would how would you describe the evenings or the afternoons doing these shows too?
So what we do is we go in, we get sent the music and everything like a week beforehand. So we're listening, learning the songs. Then we go in on the day and we have a rehearsal, and then sound check and everything with the band. And it's just a really chilled sort of cabaret evening. Mark hosts, and he sort of compares and introduces us all, and we get up and we sing a mix of solos and duets, and it's just a really chilled evening of music, sort of like a relaxed atmosphere, and it's great. And they do different themes. They have various different musical themes, and a couple of weeks ago I did Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks night. But then we've also done sort of Candor and Ebb, like singing songs from Cabaret, like full old school musical theatre. So it's a real mixed bag, so it's great singing all these different genres of music.
Yeah, the Crazy Coqs is such a gorgeous, gorgeous venue as well. Does it? Do you enjoy having the audience so close up to you as well? Is that a nice
Yeah,
experience?
I get nervous every time,
Yeah.
but it's nice. It's nice, and there's no pressure to completely know your songs off by heart. You can have the words if you want. It's just nice and chilled. So try and take the pressure off a little bit.
Yeah, I was also curious to ask you as well about Maggie May because I sadly didn't get to see that show as well.
uh
Yeah, what was that show like too?
it was brilliant. I mean, that was totally different to something like Cilla. It was in the tiny Finborough Theatre, which I think is sadly now, is the Finborough closed now?
I think it's still around.
Yeah, but it's a really, really tiny space. You know, there's only, I think, 50 people in the audience, so you're right up close to them. You're not mic'd or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it was great, and the cast were all amazing, and it was just a short run, but I loved it. And playing another Liverpudlian role was fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, another theatre that sadly has closed as well as the King's Head Theatre, where you did Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that show like too?
That was really bonkers. That was a really long time ago. It was like about a time traveling football magazine. It was really mad, but it was fun. It was a fun little experience.
Yeah, I mean the King's Head Theatre as well, you know, these and the Finborough as well, these like really small, intimate spaces. I feel like, you know, a lot of like magic tends to happen in those spaces
Yeah,
too.
definitely.
Do you have a preference, you know, performing in those theatres rather than performing in the larger spaces as well?
I don't know. It's nice to do a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, obviously, the smaller venues, you have to be in a position as a performer to be able to afford to do that, because obviously you're not getting paid as much. So if you've got the freedom artistically to go and do something like that, then that's brilliant. But I totally know that a lot of performers just wouldn't financially be able to do a show like that. But it's nice to do a bit of both, to be able to perform in those really big prestigious venues and then do something small and intimate as well. It's lovely.
Yeah, has there been one theatre that's particularly stood out to you as well over the years as well too?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I love them all. They're all different and magical in their own way.
Yeah, I mean, you sound very busy, you know. I was wondering as well, you know, aside from existing avenues, you know, from acting, singing, and photography, you know, would you ever consider, you know, directing, writing, producing at all too?
Yeah, well, I'm actually hopefully going to be doing a little bit of producing, which I've never done before. I have been asked to co-produce a show. Where I live in Hemel Hempstead, there's a venue called the Old Town Hall, which has lots of like amazing like comedians. Had Michael McIntyre there a couple of weeks ago, so lots of big people go and perform there, and they've asked me to co-produce a Monday at the Musicals night.
Oh,
so
wow.
hopefully doing that. But yeah, I mean, I'm always willing to follow any path that sort of comes to me, really.
Yeah. I think it's definitely still a very exciting industry to be a part of. Yeah, where do you sort of like see yourself in the next 5 years or so?
I mean, hopefully still just doing bits of performing, really, and scratching that itch. It's hard to step away completely.
Of course. Yeah, it's been so lovely talking to you again. Just as the last question, yeah, what do you most want people to know about you?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, that's a really difficult question. You want to try and do everything. Dip your toes in the water and try lots of different things. Don't stick to one lane. You know, you can do singing, acting, producing, right, whatever. Anything that keeps you creative, really.
Amazing. Lily Hayworth, thank you so much for talking to us again today.
Thank you, Carlos. Thanks for having me.